I am Feel It.
And I am Fix It. And we talk about life.
And stuff and things.
With the occasional rant.
Which you will have no problem doing.
Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Good night. Wherever it is where you are, I hope you're having a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, was that my good DJ voice for the day?
Did you get it?
I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
maybe. We'll see. We shall see.
I don't know. Feels a little like it was a little off.
Maybe. It's always a little flavored based on the day. And today, that's what it sounded like.
That's where it is.
Yep, that's
It's
just
a beautiful
what it is.
day.
Yes, it is.
Cold.
Chilly. It's still
Beautiful.
a little chilly, but it's nice. Can't complain. Really can't complain because I haven't been out there yet.
There's that.
Yeah.
But it's not as nice as it's been. Let's put it that way.
No, it's definitely nice and bright out, but
30s, I think.
yeah, but it's chilly.
30-some degrees.
It's definitely on the chilly side.
But sunny.
Mm-hmm.
Always deceptive.
Yes. Had a nice walk yesterday.
Yes. Unfortunately, it had already gotten pretty windy and cloudy, but it was nice.
And it wasn't too bad. I mean, cloudy I can live with.
Oh. It was
Windy.
better when we were walking away from the wind.
Yes. I can't disagree.
But I manage.
Yeah.
I manage. It's just been one of those weeks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it has.
It sure has. Yep. Long week.
A lot of stuff going on. I mean, admittedly, I think there's just, you and your client load and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of things going on there.
Oh, yeah.
My days are more. I have a much higher level of consistency in my days as
That's
far
fair.
as I interact with the same group of people basically every day. It doesn't change from one day to the next. I don't have a really
bad
long
thing.
day, and then I have a really busy day from time to time. But it's the same people, whether it's busy or not.
There she jumped into the sun. Did you hear her?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's looking for the sun.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The dog is solar
I just
powered.
had a squirrel moment.
Yeah, that's okay. It
She is
happens.
solar powered, and she has been looking for where she can lay in the sun. Because the way our home is and the windows are, it's difficult. It doesn't stay for any length of time.
Nope, just the back slider.
So,
But
yeah. Anyway, yes. Odd week.
yeah, been a lot going on.
Personal, professional,
Mm-hmm.
time of year.
Yes.
Where I anticipated it and I'd been talking about it and kind of waiting on it. There's not just the spring break stuff coming up, right? Like people plan for that, and then, that week's going to be sparser on certain clients, right? Certain age and lifestyle, what have you. But then there's all the sports and the end of year things and the senior things and all the things, that weird time of year where I used to say, interesting how people would think that fall was the lost season and moving into cold and I said, no, actually spring is the odder season when it comes to change and loss, I think, from a whole different perspective.
Yeah. Well, and which
Very hard on my teenage clients, hard on my parents that aren't ready for that stage,
sure.
that type of
Well,
thing.
there's something symbolic about the restart of the seasons.
So
it's
true.
I mean, if you think about okay, depending on where you are in the world, the seasons are completely different.
Yeah, I don't mean literal season,
No.
but yet there is a correlation
Yeah.
to Michigan's literal season.
Yes,
Yeah.
we literally have Well, the joke is we have 4 seasons, not quite winter, almost winter, and construction.
I was going to say Orange Barrel.
Yeah,
Orange Barrel
that's
season.
Orange Barrel season. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, that's always kind of the joke. But if you think about like spring is like a symbolic spring, it's birth and renewal, and then summer is, you're kind of in a
living in that abundance.
You've like that. That's where a lot of the work gets done.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's a lot of activity and a lot of just stuff. And it's the time where a lot of good stuff can typically happen because everybody looks forward to summer. The weather's good. You can go outside and do things and be productive and have fun. And then the fall is where the reaping happens. It's where the culmination of all the work throughout there kind of makes itself, it's like the point. That's when you get paid, It's like, especially if you're a farmer, you sell your stuff at the tail end of summer, early part of fall, and you set yourself up for the next winter. And then winter, where everything just kind of shuts down. It's that cyclical cycle of life.
But you knew where I was going with that.
But yes, I do. And it's definitely been kind of... There's been a lot of stuff going on for a lot of people, not just us. Not just... And in all honesty, there hasn't been a huge amount of stuff going on to us.
No.
I mean, there have been some changes. I mean, your life, you starting up your practice and getting all of that taken care of, and then and our kids growing up and kind of being into their thing, and they're established in their roles and their jobs that they have right now, but there's changes that need to happen, and not necessarily due to anything that they're doing. It's just their situations are changing, so there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of exploration and a lot of questions, and it's just one of those. There's a lot of transition. You think it slows down, it doesn't. It just changes to a different, different stuff.
Yep.
I mean, for me, a lot of things are sort of the same, but there's things that are like corporately where I work. There's things that have, the owner is retired and his designee is taking over his role, and
That'll bring change.
Yeah, and there's a big difference between how a person that built something looks at something and somebody who was put in there to take care of it. The mindset's very different. And so there's that. But my life has still been my direct life has been very consistent for a while, which is good because everybody else is in turmoil.
I wouldn't say turmoil. I would say.
Yeah, okay, that's a little bit of an exaggeration. I'll give you that. It's just.
I have hit a stride, so to speak, and I'm blessed and grateful for where that is. And
yes.
There's
no argument. Yeah.
A change of season in life and things that happens with, like I was just saying, end of the year, school year stuff, summer slows here, and I don't know. I'm hearing a lot of back and forth with that, like what that actually looks like, but I'm not so worried about it necessarily. It's just I've noticed, and I am noticing, and I'm trying to prepare in my own way, and I'm kind of really looking forward to a summer not being in recovery from something or suffering greatly.
Sure.
Waiting a surgery.
That would be awesome.
That'd be good.
Yes,
that's been a couple years.
No
so
argument.
That would be good.
That would be nice. Yes.
Looking forward to that.
Yes.
Not sure what that'll look like.
No.
Kind of frustrated. I backed off from the strict keto, and of course that just halted any weight loss. But I kind of half expected that to happen.
Sure.
I went off hormones and trying to do an experiment to see where the adenomyosis may or may not get worse, and we'll just see. We'll see.
Well, and like
Doc thought weight loss might be a byproduct, so
yes,
we'll see.
We'll see. Well, and the doctor was kind of It's like, we don't know where you are because you've been taking all this stuff to supplement and support.
Mhm.
We want to find out where you are, and that's going to require you getting off all this stuff that they had you on previous.
Which I'm fine with.
Yeah, to get you to where you are physiologically, where you are. So
I can be self-aware without being paranoid and
Sure.
overthink. I'm pretty good with that.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
When it comes to my symptoms, yeah, I am. Thank you, though. I mean, Dr. Google can tell you a lot.
Well, there's that, but that's overthinking.
But that said,
yeah.
and that's just it. I don't sit in it, constantly dwell on it, ruminate on it.
Sure.
You might notice something, pay attention to something a little bit differently, but I can certainly shift in and out of that.
Most definitely.
I've got pretty good practice with that. But yeah. No, I don't care for how I feel in these very significant barometric changes that we're having. I think that's just any season change, unfortunately, and some of the harshness that can come with summer. But
the
that's
season,
down the road. That's not right now.
Well, the season change thing is always kind of rough for me anyway, but I have seasonal allergies for all 4 seasons, which is awesome. And there's always that, it's like, okay, right now I'm used to what I am right now, and then all of the things that trigger those issues taper off, and there's usually that little window of time where the new ones kick back in for the new season, and you get that little bit of, oh, hey, everything's great, and then I suddenly can't breathe again.
And then we go outside yesterday and like the wind with all the pollens and the ickiness coming alive.
But it was kind of nice. I mean, I haven't been out and about in a while.
On a trail.
Yeah.
We did not choose a cemetery.
Not this time.
You chose the trail. I said, all right, we can do a trail.
Go do the trail.
And so shall we transition into you picking the topic? Because I want to give it its due time, because you had told me you thought this might get philosophical. And
Sure.
I thought, wow, after the morning I had trying to watch shows with you and how often I had to pause as you were noticing everything and having to comment heavily, I thought, oh goodness, this is going to be interesting to record today. And then when you told me it was going to be philosophical, I thought, wow, I may as well just sit here the whole time and not talk. I'd be fine with that, actually.
Yeah.
So
my brain has not been in a single gear kind of day.
I noticed.
Well, there was a period of time, but I used it all up. But that's okay.
That's okay. It's how you think. I
Often,
get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, when I read it, I thought, oh, yeah. Yep, that could go some places. I'll read it.
Sure.
You picked it, I'll read it. Okay. You cannot, well, let me say topic, like it's a prompt.
Yeah.
Okay, so you cannot see your reflection in boiling water. Similarly, you cannot see the truth in a state of anger. When the water is calm, clarity comes.
Mm-hmm.
That is very true.
Yes.
I'm going to be the first one to admit. Yes. I mean, we all have that. The triggers. I know you don't care for that word.
It
the
gets
things that will hit us the hardest, the fastest, that will make us react.
Sure.
And not everybody can stay in some significant state of calm.
No.
All the time.
Well, and it's not really feasible, and it's not desirable either. It's like there are times when you want your emotions to lead the way. I mean, you go on a date, nobody wants to sit across from a non-emotional computer. They want emotional highs and lows. You know, you want those moments. But, yeah.
I'm not sure what you were thinking when you read it. If there was like a
off topic, but, you know.
Yes and no. Because, yeah, if you were in that robotic state all the time, this certainly wouldn't entirely apply.
But that's no fun. You know, that's not really.
Well, okay.
You're not going to enjoy life.
Let's go with the boiling water. I read that and I immediately thought, yeah, you know what? I've had my moments where I've seen red.
Mm-hmm.
And a client had asked me recently, a newer client, why I had a little Hulk stuffed animal on the shelf next to my little Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
And I did share with her.
Which is a little bit funny because there's right over your
Yeah.
right shoulder is
Yep.
Another little...
My little Hulk Funk Pop. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. I have a few,
Yes.
right? So I took the stuffed animals into work.
Mhm.
Into my office, I should say. This is my home
So,
office.
If somebody
I
gets
took
mad
them
and
into
starts trying to bean your things at you, stuffed animals, well, it's better than a Funko
business
Pop.
office.
Yeah.
And I've shared on and off. When I lost my mother, that was probably the most emotionally tumultuous time ever. There wasn't regulation. I was all over the board, and then some. It was wild, and I did feel like the embodiment of the Incredible Hulk and how they portray that, right? Like, you hit green in like 0.1 second. So when I read this, I thought of that. Individuals that are quickly angered, which some people just are. They don't have that underlying
Sure. Yeah.
grief or just that something that kind of keeps them off kilter.
Mm-hmm.
Which I would like to think over time I have grasped my control much better. But that boiling water, I thought of that thought, seeing red, the way that people put that. And that's true. You're not, and I often said it was, everything was distorted.
Yeah.
So there wasn't seeing rationally at all. There was worse moments than others.
Well, when you're,
it was different than just regular anger.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, heightened emotional states are like tinted lenses.
Yeah.
Sometimes they make things look prettier. Sometimes they make things harder to discern. Sometimes it's just there. It doesn't have any noticeable effect. But they tinge everything. You're not seeing reality typically. You're seeing everything with that coloring it. And when you're in that state all the time, you're literally living in a world where reality and what you think is reality don't mesh up. But at the same time, if you don't have that emotional state to make it worthwhile, it's kind of not worth it. I don't know. It's a rough place to be when nothing touches you emotionally. But at the same time, it's a really rough way to live when everything is completely tinged and polluted with an excess of emotion. And I say that as somebody that kind of has a short fuse by nature. But I think part of the fact that I'm aware that I kind of have a short fuse. But for me, a lot of that emotion, like that strong emotion, that apparent strong emotion on the surface, when I get ticked off about something, it's really superficial. But so it's, give me a sec. I'm just popping the cork, blowing off some pressure.
And I think, I don't know.
Blowing off some pressure so I can, it's like, okay, I need to relieve the pressure so I can get back within the safety margins again. Pfft, okay, now I'm good.
But the nuances of neurodivergence, why is that anger just becomes so prevalent so quick? And unnecessarily so.
Yeah. It's the, okay, I can't speak for everybody. And as I am not a trained, licensed professional.
No, you just live it every day.
Yeah. It's the easiest one for people to understand. It's the easiest one to use as a vent. And it's usually the one that gets you the space that you need to deal with what's actually going on. People don't want to deal with somebody that's angry. So you back off, which is all a lot of people want in the first place. I just want you to go 2 steps that way and shh. But you're not going to go 2 steps that way and shush. If I ask you to, you're going to come closer and push in, which is the exact opposite of what I need. But if I get mad and pop off a little bit, you will take a step back and stop talking to me so that I can actually process with what I'm dealing with. And then we can come back together.
So it's intentional.
No, I'm not saying it's a cognitive. I'm not saying that's a cognitive process.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm not saying it's a cognitive process. I'm saying it's, if you, like most things psychological, if you step back analytically, you can create a cognitive process for something that's just occurring naturally. Like, I can sit here and describe the process of photosynthesis, which I'm not going to do right now. I saw that look on your face. The plant just does it. The plant doesn't think about it. A plant doesn't need to cognitively understand what's going on. It just does it. In this situation, this is how I respond. In the same way, like a pressure cooker, pressure builds up. If enough pressure builds up, the cork vents.
Yeah, but if you drop something like twice and then you start dropping like swear words, isn't it fake? I mean, what is that? Like, what? What is that?
That's just
it's
venting.
So unnecessary.
That's just venting.
And now your children do it.
It's just venting. It's literally it's venting the pressure on the cork.
That's dumb. That's such a waste of energy.
Except where that energy is there, where's it going to go?
Why does it even need to get that extreme? It's just simple, man.
Except it's not. That energy, okay, the energy that's...
You're right. You're right. For you, it is not simple.
The energy that is being vented is energy that's already there and something has to happen to it.
I got that.
The easiest thing is just pop the cork for a second and then, okay, now I'm good. It's like, yeah, you flew off the handle and now you're fine.
Most of the time. Most of the time.
The pressure cooker needed to vent, and if it wasn't allowed to vent, eventually it would burst, and then bad things happen. Not saying, it's not one of those. It's not the excuse thing. You can learn to handle it better, but sometimes if you're not thinking, if you're not cognitive, you just vent.
Well, when
you
I
just vent the pressure.
Read this, it's to seeing your reflection in boiling water, so. It almost is like this implied. You can't see how you're acting. You can't see how you might look to somebody else.
Sure. Yeah. And it's...
So you probably don't realize how
Oh,
horrible
of course.
You might seem.
Yeah. No, and...
Flipping out over the simplest thing.
But the thing is, it's like with...
I know, not about the nail.
In this case, we're talking specifically about me. But
okay.
Everybody does it. Everybody. Nobody makes good decisions when they're in a heightened emotional state.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't matter what the emotion is. Any heightened emotional state is counterproductive to productive thought. Doesn't matter what it is. This just happens to use anger as the state in which they're focusing on, because it's the most easily relatable. Nobody makes good decisions when they're mad. They're always tainted. And any heightened emotional state is going to tinge cognitive thought. Yeah, I mean, you look at the divorce rate. It's like when they got married, they were the happiest people ever. They made very large decisions in a heightened emotional state. And then once that emotional state mellowed out a little bit, they realized, like,
You're talking about somebody
No,
specific?
not anybody.
That have issues.
Just in general. There's usually, I mean, look at the divorce rate after 5 years.
I don't even know the numbers anymore.
The numbers are huge. It's like,
I know they're pretty high.
Huge. Between, right around the 5-year mark, if I remember the statistics correctly. It's like, because you can maintain that heightened emotional state for a period of time, but at some point, things mellow out again. And then you're sitting there like, okay, I'm not in this heightened emotional state that made everything, I couldn't see your flaws. Because my emotional high just made them invisible. And then now that high's gone, all I can see are your flaws, and it's driving me bonkers. It's human nature, to be fair. That's why I always advise people, I'm talking, it's like right now you're feeling really good, but you need to take your feeling out of it. Let it color your decision, but don't let it make the decision for you. Your feelings are, okay, I don't know if I've said it in a recording before, I don't recall. There's been a bunch of them, so I don't remember. I guess that's on me. Big shock. We don't take notes. There's no transcript in front of us. We're just kind of going for it. But I tell people all the time, feelings are like a bad GPS. If you follow them word for word, you're going to end up in the wrong place. It's like you should, by all means, listen to them, but don't let them drive. You have to drive the car. Don't let the GPS drive the car, because sometimes the GPS is wonky. Now, I think that's kind of, like with the prompt, it's like whenever you're in a heightened emotional state, and they specifically focus on anger because I think in a lot of ways it's the most relatable. We have all done things when we were mad that we sat back and go, why in the heck did I do that? That wasn't who I wanted to be.
It's usually just out of control.
Yeah, well, when your emotions are, any emotional state, any heightened emotional state is going to color your behavior.
That's true.
And your thought process.
I've certainly been there. I think anybody who's being honest, would say they've been there.
If you've never been there, you've either never interacted with people, you're lying to yourself.
You're totally self-unaware.
Or you are a hardcore sociopath that doesn't have heightened emotional states.
Well, some people just are unaware.
Yeah, and I think that's a big chunk of it, is people just aren't aware. It's like, you look back and go, man, why did I say that? That was such a jerk. Like, you were in a heightened emotional state. You weren't thinking. You weren't cognitively acting. You were emotionally acting. And not oft times, but quite often anyway, the things that you do and say in a heightened emotional state don't coincide with your calm self.
So I'm going to toss this out there for what it is and explain why. One of the challenges I had this week was a client that had come in who had said that she'd found out her boyfriend had committed suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not what she was coming in for. Didn't see that coming. Total left field situation.
Mm-hmm.
And when she was talking to me about the moment she was told, she didn't entirely remember it.
Yeah.
And I had shared with her my own personal experience once when I had heard something that was devastating to me, and I went deaf. Mm-hmm. Went deaf for a few seconds.
Yeah.
I actually remember watching the person speak and not being able to hear what they were saying for a few seconds. It's frightening when you become conscious of it, but you're too busy with all the other feelings and emotions that it's like an after thing.
Yeah.
Did that really happen? Should I worry or wonder about that? We talked a little bit about, trauma, physiological responses, things of that nature. And, that is one thing I will say. And when you talk about heightened emotion, and it does depend on the emotion, a lot of people have gotten off with different legal defenses with I'm not saying like insanity, but what the human body and mind can become capable of when they disconnect enough. And usually fueled by fear or anger, which are not far apart.
No. In a lot of ways, I think fear is the passive version, anger is the active version of a very similar emotional state. I could be mistaken. This is not fact. This is my personal opinion. Please, it's like, if you want to discuss, please do. Please disagree. But but it's like, just in my own personal experience and observation, it's like they seem to be very similar. Just one is withdrawing and one is pushing forward in a lot of ways.
And I can remember moments, and again, my frame of reference here is something most people can identify with. The loss of a loved one, but I remember I saw my mother not long after she had been hospitalized, and you're calm in the moment when you're talking to the staff and getting the information, doing the things, and then within a very short amount of time, somebody had walked in, a staff member had walked in and asked me if there was anything I needed. And I looked her just dead in the face and I said, yes, a punching bag. Like it was just, it was in my hands, like that vibrating, like this energy needs to go somewhere.
Yes.
And that's the anger I can envision when I read that. That's the anger I'm imagining, that you are so out of your right mind. You're not going to see clearly at all. You're not going to hear reason. You're not going to be able to process it.
Not well, at least I don't think most of it. It's like you're processing. You're just not processing correctly. And
it's all wonky.
Yeah, it's all wonky. It's all colored by that emotional state. And I've read some studies. I couldn't quote them specifically, but that show that the emotional state. Memories are tied to an emotional state, which is why certain emotional states, those memories recur more vividly. That's why, you get into a fight with somebody and you're angry. It's like, well, you always do. Like, no, it's like, it's just this memory is tied to this emotion.
Well, just like I could sit right here and tell you from very vivid memory, things that happened 10 years ago.
Sure.
It really was 10 years ago this time, actually.
Yeah. And if you put yourself in the same, or something puts you in the same emotional state, those memories become much more vivid. It's, it's like tuning in on a radio. It's like the stations, all, there's 100 radio stations going around us right now. You don't hear any of them until you tune into them. And when you tune back into them, it's, all that stuff comes flooding back. Do you
want to hear something wild?
The human mind is weird. In that, how it does that. Sure, go
for it. Because I just realized, holy bejeez, I decided to glance at a calendar. I knew the date, but I decided to actually glance at a calendar from 2015. And it was 10 years ago on the 21st, which was yesterday, that I was told my mother had some form of, the nurse didn't say it. She handed me some things.
Yes.
And then we put it together that she had some form of cancer. They were just in the midst of trying to figure out what.
Yeah.
So she was in the hospital, and she had just collapsed a few days prior, and. Yeah. Anyway, literally 10 years ago at this time.
Yeah.
Yes. And that I can still close my eyes and feel the feels. Mm-hmm. I can smell the smells. Yep. You don't forget hospitals have a smell.
They do.
There's a smell.
And probably
the view out of the window, the Grand Traverse Bay. Mm-hmm. What a gorgeous view that was.
It's gorgeous, yeah.
What a gorgeous view. So few hospitals have gorgeous views.
Sure.
But it was a lot of anger.
Oh yeah.
Among all the feelings I was having, anger became the most prevalent. Mm-hmm. And so became many years thereafter. A lot of anger. Mm-hmm. And until just a few years ago started to, I wouldn't say let that go. How do I put this? The water's calmed enough. My water's calmed enough.
Sure.
That I could look back at all the things and appreciate them for what they were, I keep extracting what I need as I go. But now it's a focus on taking everything I've experienced, and it's how can I put it to use in my career?
Yeah.
How can I make sense of all of that and put it to good? Because it wasn't good when I was going through it.
No.
But it had to be for something.
Unfortunately, no. It's never.
But that was years of not calm.
We learn more from the bad things, I think, than the good things just happen. It's the trials that give the deepest lessons, I think.
So many years.
So many years. Well, and the thing is, though, they're the prompt that we're going off of, they're talking specifically about anger. I don't think it's just anger. I think anger is the one that most people are the most easily can relate to. Because we've all been mad, not seeing things clearly, overreacted. At the time, it didn't feel like an overreaction, but once you calm down, you realize, man, that was an 11 and it should have been a 5 kind of thing.
Sure.
But I think in reality, it's like it's not anger that makes the water boil. It's any emotion that's running deep. Any strong emotion is going to make that water ripple pretty hard. And anytime you're in, I've said it to people, I've said it to our girls, I've said it to you, I've said it to people in conversations when it was appropriate. It's not how I start a conversation, but any heightened emotional state is a lousy time to make decisions.
Hence my aunt, who's just lost her husband, has repeatedly said it was just a family agreement. She wanted to give it a year because she would be so much more emotional.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Now, did I have to point out to her that she could still very well be quite emotional after a year? Yeah, we actually did talk about that a little bit.
But at the same time,
there's this idea that the first years are hardest.
Well, they're all hard, but you learn in a lot of cases. I'm not saying all cases. I'm not saying that this is the case, but you give yourself time, you can learn how to recognize the filter that you're operating under. Like using the same kind of analogy that if you've got a red hue, a red filter on your glasses, everything looks red. If you leave it on long enough, you can still discern colors, even if you're not seeing them clearly.
I just came off of having 2 years of that blue light filter on my glasses, so yeah, it's pretty wild now to have not.
Yeah,
I can see color.
Yeah, just without. I mean, you always could, but after a little while, you forgot it was there, and you still saw the color.
Yeah, most of the time.
You give yourself time, you can learn to see the reality behind the tint. But usually that is, like in your aunt's case.
Depending on who you are, that tint can still be pretty bad.
Oh, yeah. And I'm not saying the tint is gone. Like your aunt dealing with the loss of your uncle. That tint is permanent.
Oh, yeah.
But she can learn over time, the tint will be less noticeable. And I think that's kind of give it a year. It's like, is she still going to be all jacked up? Yes, she's still going to be all jacked up in a year. But hopefully in the course of that year, she's learned, sticking with the analogy, to see the color behind the tint.
And there's a sense of autopilot, I think, that everyone operates under. I've done it.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
That you just do. Even... and it isn't necessarily length of time attached to that either. But that autopilot can also take into effect or take into account your emotions as well. Like, it's not just the actions you're doing to function. It's how you're thinking and feeling. You're like, well, I guess I have to kind of try to get in touch with that just so that I can do this or that. And you're just going on autopilot. You're not allowing yourself to actually really engage with it. But sometimes that's healthy.
Yes.
And that's okay.
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately, life throws bad things at you. You still have to function. You still have things you have to do. And I think sometimes there's a certain amount of comfort in being able to just...
Nope, you go ahead.
Yeah, you just turn it off and let the autopilot do its thing. I know for me, a lot of things happen subconsciously. I can be dealing with some crap, and I can articulate the crap that I'm dealing with sometimes. But not always. Sometimes I'm not even fully conscious of the stuff that my brain's chewing on. But I go, I dig in, and I get to work, and I do what I got to do, and I just kind of let that stuff chew in the background, and then my subconscious is like, okay, we're ready. This is what we're dealing with. This is what we need to do. This is, and this is coming from someone who's, not neurotypical. I do like I do, honestly, I like the phrase neurodivergent. I kind of like it. So it's sounds like a science fiction movie. I know, but
no, and I appreciate that your perspective is actually probably perfect for this, for what it is.
Sure, to a degree.
Your oldest is trying to tell us that she is going out, but the link she sent's weird, and I just said I don't know what that is. So here's a real life interruption right here. She's trying to be accountable that we know where she is, because she's hanging out with different people than normal. And as we have always promoted, like, you're adults, you have a life, that's fine, but can you just like let us know a gist of what your plans are? Because you never know nowadays, unfortunately. You just don't. And
yeah, why would she send us a Discord link?
I don't know if she meant to do that. I have no idea.
Yeah, she sent us a link to a Discord chat. That's not a promotion. That's just a reality.
Yeah, yep.
Here we are.
Not a promotion.
Anyway,
not a promotion. But
not that it isn't a decent site, and if they want to send us money, hey, more power to you.
Great. But we're in the middle of doing this, and that's real life, and they don't know. They don't know we're doing this. But anyway,
that's fine.
Anyway, we're handling that. Yes. Here's my side note. You should always let somebody know where you are. If you're around people that you're not normally around, and even in a group, and at somebody's home, and all that stuff, and you have young, adult, female daughters.
Man,
even adults, like,
just
I've been talking to
people should always
full-grown adults, like,
always make sure that somebody knows where you
going
are,
on dates, and you're always. Like, yeah, you should probably let somebody know where you're going to be.
And not just the ladies, dudes. You should have at least one person that knows where the heck you are.
I've listened to a lot of true crime. I've been watching one lately from Michigan. We're totally veering off topic here, and it's my fault. But wild stuff happens no matter where we are. And we just got to be cognizant of that nowadays.
Yes.
Anyway, coming back around.
You always should be anyway. It's like, I'm all for trusting people and, and all that fun stuff. But man, unless you're 100% certain about anybody, which you can't be.
I don't know if you can be. That's frightening. Man, wish
sure.
Somebody would have told you about me.
Sure.
Yikes.
I've known you long enough. Anyway. But, man, like, make sure somebody knows what's going on. I mean, they don't need to know specifics. Like, hey, I'm going out with this person to this place later. I mean, just, like, there's a reason why I text you, hey, I'm at work.
Yeah.
And it's not because I was like, I need you to know, like, no, it's just that, like, everything's great. It's like, everything's good. Things are where they're supposed to be. Just so if you didn't get that text, you go, hey, what's going on? It's like, I could have blown a freaking tire and flipped over at 80 miles an hour.
Absolutely.
You don't know. But anyway, it never hurts to have a group of people that you trust with that kind of information. Anyway, completely off topic.
That out there.
But here we are. Life advice.
Jeez, yes.
Man, I almost used a quote I haven't used in forever. Anyway,
just where we are right now.
Yes. But anyway, it's like, I do like the end of this. Like, when the water's calm, clarity comes.
Most of the time.
And it's like, and they're talking about anger because that's the most visceral and usually the most cognitively debilitating emotion.
I agree.
But they all do to varying degrees. When you're angry, and this isn't like 100%, but it's like when you're angry, you can't see any, another person's good points. It's like when you're, and I'm using this term loosely, when you're in love, you can't see any of their flaws. Yeah. It's like they're flawed. There's an episode of the IT Crowd where the gal's dating a keyboardist in a band.
The British version.
Yeah, the British version. And there's all of, and it's like he's got the snore, and it's the cutest little thing. It's like a little purr, and there's all of these little things, and she's just like enamored with him. And then he gets kicked out of the band, and now she can't stand any of it. It's obnoxious and annoying. It's like, it's the same thing. It's just anytime you're in a heightened emotional state, you're not actually seeing things as they are. They're tinted. Whether it's a pretty tint or a not pretty tint, it's still tinted.
It's true.
I think we become our most irrational when we're angry. Doesn't mean that when you're like ridiculously happy, that you're also not being completely ridiculous.
Well, sure. I mean, especially if it's a swing from something else,
Well,
or
yeah,
permanent
sure.
state, even. And
Yep.
I mean absolutely no offense to anybody on ketamine, that I have found in working with some of my clients that have or used to be on it or what have you. It can put you in a pretty different state of mind, let's say.
Oh, sure.
And shutting off enough of those receptors that, yeah, you might just seem absolutely fine, even though you haven't dealt with one single thing that's actually going on that created the symptoms that you're now trying to completely band-aid with this amazing drug. I am not against pharmaceutical intervention, let me be very clear. But in what I have experienced so far, personally and professionally, you can put yourself in a pretty happy state, pharmaceutically, perfectly legal, and you're not really dealing with what's going on.
No, you're
literally just masking it.
Yeah. It's. Yeah.
And you know what? God bless you. If you're perfectly fine with that, God bless you. But you're going to run into some issues down the road if you're not actually going to deal with what's going on.
Well, yeah, it's like
there's something about getting stability, but not creating like some whole bubble that you can just live in as long as you take your medicine.
You can take enough pain meds to forget you have a broken leg, which will allow you to walk on the broken leg. But at some point, that broken leg is going to be a problem.
I mean, there was one instance in just night and day from who she was a few weeks prior, and she had gone and she'd started ketamine. And we talked about that. She's like, oh, well, I just think everything's fine now. And okay. Well, you enjoy that stability, and
for the moment,
you know how to find me if you'd like to address anything in the future.
Well,
I can't tell somebody what to do, and I'm certainly not going to villainize it by any means.
Sometimes there's something to be said for needing a minute.
But yeah, you go ahead and enjoy that state that you're living in, but that's not the only drug.
Well,
I don't mean to pick on that, but there are some stronger things nowadays, and that's literally their purpose.
This is one of those personal opinion things. I'm not a big fan of pharmacological remedies because they're not. As a general rule, they're not actually remedies, because a remedy takes care of the underlying problem.
Well, if you genuinely have a physiological imbalance, that's one thing.
Sure.
But there's testing nowadays that can be done.
Well, yeah,
there's all kinds of ways to assess that now.
Sure, but they've completely... Okay, I've read some studies that have shown that the chemical imbalance theory is completely fake. It doesn't exist.
It's not.
Not saying that the drugs aren't beneficial. Not going to say that they're not.
That's a point of view.
It's like they can't. But they short of cutting a brain open, they can't tell if you have a chemical imbalance. That was kind of. But it's a little. Yeah, that's a little.
Let's just agree. Can we just agree that that's a whole other road we're not going to go down?
Sure.
Right now?
Oh yeah. No argument there. It's just. I think. Moreover, there's nothing wrong with something to get you through something. I usually put it like this.
You're not going to pill away anger.
No. Well, and you can.
Sort of. I guess.
Enough drugs, you can make everything go away. But
you're right. I'm sorry. You're right.
I mean, to be fair, you can put somebody into a freaking coma. They feel nothing.
You're not going to pill away the thing,
but there's
underlying issues that cause you to be angry.
Exactly. There's the underlying issue. Now, I've always put it like this to people. It's like there's nothing wrong with using a crutch when you need a crutch. Like, you need something to get you. You're in the middle of some crap and you need to get through to the other side. There is nothing wrong. It's like a cast on your foot. It's like, the bone's broken. It needs support. Well, you can be mentally broken and need some support. Mm-hmm. And you get that support. But the goal isn't, it's like, okay, now you're fixed and you're never going to deal with it again. It's like, no, the goal is to heal so they can take the cast off so you don't need it anymore. It's like, for me, it's like there's nothing wrong with a crutch. But the ultimate goal should be to get strong enough to no longer need the crutch. So you can put the crutch away. And pharmacological things like that, I'm of the opinion that most of the time, it's a crutch. And when you need a crutch, there's nothing wrong with that. But the goal should be to no longer need the crutch. And there are certain things you'll never not need the crutch. But the goal should still be to try and get to a point where you no longer need the crutch. Like, if that's never going to happen, there's no shame in needing a crutch when you need a crutch. That's off topic.
It is. It is, but I'd let you finish it.
But that's kind of, that's my fly. It's like, if you need medication, it's like painkillers. If you need, whatever happens to be, if you need something to get you through the time to get through to the other side, there's no shame in that. Whether it's counseling or medication or whatever, sometimes the best thing you can do is go somewhere else. Like, hey, I'm going to need a couple of days. I'm going to go somewhere and take those couple of days. But the goal should be to get back into what you were dealing with and then actually deal with it. There's nothing wrong with something to help you get to the point where you can.
I'm going to draw it back in for a second, and
Sure.
We're not going to go down the road. I realize that. But, I had a flash of some memories go by as you were explaining that. And I'm gonna come back over with my counter to you, which I don't do terribly often.
Please.
If you recall, our youngest, in that discussion that we had with her second neuropsych testing,
Okay.
right? Her second panel.
Okay.
And I was trying to think of that word because it's not typically used now. It's called persistent depressive disorder now, but that doctor phrase, as he was phrasing it, it's that underlying depression that somebody has all the time, dysthymia, right? Like that. It's
Tuesday. We call that Tuesday.
See right there.
Yeah.
Right there. And you say that chemical imbalance isn't necessarily a thing, but
the research is showing that.
Where we're not going to go heavily.
No.
Is that it comes from somewhere, right? And he was discussing with her, given what you had admitted about your own mental state and then diagnosed and undiagnosed struggles, mental health struggles.
Sure.
And then your family's undiagnosed mental health struggles. We were very, very open and honest.
And there's a bunch.
We always have them.
Yeah.
That there was a component to it that had likely just become part of the wave, right? Like just
sure.
Undiagnosed doesn't matter, right? So without going into all the things, okay, where I don't want, it's not an argument, it's a counter for what it is, because there can genuinely be, and when you're talking about the calm that this prompt talks about, your calm is going to be different than my calm and somebody else's calm.
Yes.
So it's what level of calm can you get to see something with a little bit more logic or rationality?
Oh, yeah.
And when you feel, as the discussion with our daughter, which I think she's better about her recognition of it and how she's learned to function around it.
Sure.
She was young and had gone through a lot of things, as we have talked about.
Yes.
And now she's an adult making her choices on medications and treatments and things, but she's it's not like there's a lot to decide, right? Like she's much better than she used to be, though she is going through some hard stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But that term came up, and it wasn't an official diagnosis that was put on her by any means, because there are certain characteristics that and criteria you have to fall into to get certain diagnoses. But we did talk about that because you kind of talked about having that, where that you're just always maybe a little bit more down than the average person, or what would be considered not always optimistic and cheery and all the things that we kind of view as a joyful, happy person.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah, sure.
And when this prompt talks about that it talks about anger, but really it can be any emotion.
Oh, yeah.
That if your calm is going to be different than somebody else's.
Yeah, I know my calm doesn't always appear to be calm. And yeah, there's a neutral emotional state isn't happy. Happy is an elevated emotional state. Chipper is an elevated emotional state. And my way of looking at like this prompt You can replace anger with any elevated emotional state.
Sure.
And everybody's neutral position is going to come across differently. When I'm completely neutral, people think I'm mad. It's like, no, I'm just here. I have no emotional activity at all going right now. I am as calm as I can possibly be. You look mad. Like, yep. Yeah, I have no doubt that is the case. I'm not. I'm good.
I had a client tell me the other day I looked tired. Asked me if I was doing all right. You know what? Of course I'm not going to go into all the things, but I had not felt great that morning.
It
pretty solid for a few hours. So by the time he walked in my door, I wasn't feeling good.
Yeah,
but it can't be about that.
No.
Right?
No.
And then I have colleagues that'll tell me, well, one in particular, she's just a sweet, sweet woman, that I just always look so happy, so full of life. Oh my goodness. Like it's such a sweet compliment, but okay, if this is the definition of it, if this, what's my baseline? My baseline has changed over the years.
Sure.
And I've kind of had to accept that, where even my anger, I don't get angry like I did. And I got angry like that for quite some time. That volatile. Yeah. I'm not saying I never get angry. I'm saying it's different.
It's like I have that effect on people. And the closer I am to people, the more I tend to irritate them.
There's that.
I admit it freely. I work on it. I try.
Totally you.
I'm not saying it's all me.
Ownership is the first step. Acknowledgement.
I am. First step, acknowledgement's the first step. The second step is, or identifying it's the first step. The second step is washing it off.
Okay, that's your quote, not mine. But we didn't go as deep in. Yes, thank you. We didn't go. Did you see that link? We're gonna squirrel it again for a second. Did you see that link I sent you? Happy Gilmore 2.
Yes.
See, now I don't remember if our children have ever been exposed to that. We used to try to show them like the funny, quintessential '90s SNL actor movies, right? Like,
oh yeah.
We did. I don't know where we failed them still in some aspects, and we need to have that conversation.
I heard that there was a possibility of a Billy Madison 2.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't know how I feel about that. That movie was.
I could take.
Yeah.
Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore. Yeah, I could definitely.
At least look like it's got some original actors in it. Mm-hmm. But anyway. Yeah. Bringing it back.
Looks funny.
You didn't quite get as philosophical as I thought you would, but I can also appreciate that. There's some depth and width you can certainly get to this, but like most things, it's subjective. But
see, I'm paraphrasing. I can paraphrase it. It's like it's really hard to see things clearly in any kind of elevated emotional state, like whatever that is.
That boiling water component, right?
Well, and it's heat that boils water.
Yeah,
and heat comes from all kinds of sources.
And if it's too, say calm, right? Calm, lukewarm, still has a depth of warmth to it. Mm-hmm. Not cold and freezing.
Yep. It's that excited
underlying state.
Yeah.
That somebody might always have.
There's something to be. It's like
I think we all have that.
Yeah. You don't want to be an unemotional robot. It's like we're people. That's not how we're wired. We shouldn't be there anyway. There are times when you kind of need to be unemotional about stuff. Like I tell people, it's like, don't make decisions when you're in heightened emotional state, whatever that emotional state is. And especially big decisions, because you're compromised. Your thinking is compromised. No. And that's the thing. It's like people get married. They meet somebody, they fall in love, and they get married within like 2 years. It's like, yeah, you made a really big life decision in a very heightened emotional state. It's not just anger that can lead you into weird places. I've talked to our girls over the years and some other people over the years. It's like, how do you, when you're choosing to marry someone, your emotions about that person are a very important component of that decision. But if you can't rationally justify the decision, if it's purely emotional, you really need to tread carefully. because heightened emotions compromise our judgment, and it doesn't matter what the emotion happens to be. It's like if you're mad, you make bad decisions. If you're really angry, if you're really happy, it colors your judgment. And love is one of the most emotionally energetic emotions. It's like there is just so much going on, and it filters so many things that it can make something a snore. It right now it's when he sleeps, there's a little purr. Like, no, he's snoring. It's not purring, he's snoring. Like,
I guess I don't remember that episode clearly.
It's a little purr.
But you watched them far more than I did.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the pedophile one.
The Peter file, yes.
I was like, did you not?
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah. See, you're rabbit trailing more than I am. It's kind of awesome, actually.
You've really worn me down lately.
It's been a really, excuse me, it's been a weird little while.
It has.
So, there's that. But, I'm, trying to phrase well my thought process here. It's, this thing's talking about boiling water. It's like, it's not just anger that boils the water. It's any emotion has energy, and every emotion has a filter that colors your vision. And effectively, it's like when you're in a state, any kind of emotional state, your vision is tinted. And some of those tints are more attractive than others. The idea is to get yourself into a state where you're looking without the filters. Like, yes, I love you. I love you immensely. But that love
is... Put a butt on there?
Sort of, yes. But it's not just the emotional side of things. It's not just that. It's cognitive as well. Like, yeah, we've been through a lot of crap. We've seen a lot of stuff. We've had our good days. We've had our bad days. We've had our good years. We've had our bad years. In life. And things are good. Things are good. I kind of lost my train of thought. It just derailed. Holy crap. Anyway, but it's, there's this, I didn't just marry you because of how I felt. It was part of it. It was an important part of it. I didn't make this decision entirely on just how I felt. It was an important part of it. But any big decision shouldn't just be based off of an emotional connection. It needs to be more than that. Because emotions, at some point, eventually the water stops boiling. And when the water stops boiling and you can see things without that turbulence of that heightened emotional state, then what do you have?
A bottom.
A bottom, a reflection, and you might not necessarily see something you like in that reflection. Like, you made a decision when the water was still boiling.
Fatty oils at the top.
Fatty oils at the top. That happens. You made soup.
What just happened?
I took it to weird places. But the emotional aspect of, like, in a relationship is a very important one. But it can't be the only part. Emotions are way too fickle for that. And emotions tend to make us very blind to certain things. Anger makes you blind to the good things. Affection makes you blind to the bad things. And if you're looking at the same thing, it's like mad, you don't see the good. And then, okay, now I'm really happy, and now I don't see the bad. The good that you couldn't see was there. And the bad that you now can't see is still there. Like any heightened emotional state makes you blind to something. And no emotional state can be maintained indefinitely. At some time, something happens and things calm down. Then what? That's the problem that so many marriages fall apart. They get involved, heightened emotional state, and then things calm down and they have no idea why they're together. And the things that you were blind to are now the only things you can see. It's like you were blind, it's like when you're newlyweds, you're blind to all of their faults. And after a while, when things calm down, those filters that blinded you from all of their faults, now it's like, well, where did those come from? Well, they were there the whole time, but now it's the only thing you can see. You made a decision in a really heightened emotional state. Those heightened emotional states are awesome. They're a lot of fun sometimes. Wink, wink. But they can also be pretty miserable. The repercussions of what you do in those heightened emotional states, they're very long lasting. That's why I always tell people, it's like, okay, yeah, I believe you. You love them. That's awesome. Now tell me what you like about them. It's like, yes, you love them. Love is a completely irrational thing. It's not rational. It doesn't make any dang sense. In fact, it's probably your worst enemy in some cases. Because we tend to love the things that do a lot of damage to us. And at some point, things calm down because emotional states can't be maintained indefinitely. Now what do you got? That's 2 to 5 year mark, which is where a lot of divorces happen. Unfortunately. And I don't remember how accurately I'm remembering those statistics. Just saying. But anyway.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is I don't care what the emotional state is. Anger, love, lust, whatever it happens to be. I tell people all the time, don't let your emotions make your decisions for you. You can let them color your thought processes, but don't let them make the decisions for you.
Fair.
And this is kind of along those lines.
Yep.
It's like
It is.
if the water's boiling, you don't see clearly, and a lot of things boil the water. And especially, it's like if you're with your spouse and you're really ticked off, you can't see the good things about them. They didn't go away. You're just blind.
Depends on the day. Sure.
But you're still blind to them. It's like you're mad at them. So the water's boiling. You can't see the things you like about them in that reflection. All you can see is that turbulence that's taking you off. And actually, it's like on the same boat. It's like you're really, that hormonal teenager thing. It's like your hormones are bubbling the water pretty dang hard, and you can't see any of the flaws. It's like, yeah, this person's 100% wrong for you, but you can't see that because the water's bubbling. You don't see that reflection.
Well, there's a lot of hormones
and that's how my mom ends up with my dad.
Say a lot of hormones and lots of
full
brain function. But anyway, I hear what you're saying.
All that being said. Bring that back around. I say often, emotions are like a bad GPS. And listen to them, but always let your head drive. I've heard people say, it's like, I love them, but it just doesn't make any sense. And that's going to end poorly.
I don't know how we got there.
It's a roundabout thing. It's the concepts are it's the other end of the concept.
Okay. Okay.
That being said, there are certain things definitely in life. Let your heart drive. But man, you better have a good co-pilot.
Yes, that is a good statement. Not entirely with the prompt, but good statement.
Well, and I think that's where marriage comes in.
Oh, goodness.
No, I mean, sometimes what you really need is a good co-pilot.
Yeah.
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 You're welcome.
Anyway.
Should we stop now?
We've gone over
we should probably stop now.
allotted time.
We should probably stop now.
Yeah, okay. We probably should.
Not just because we're at time.
Yeah. I mean, we could definitely keep going, I think, but...
Sure. Might not be best.
I think the rabbit trails are just going to get deeper and further away. Just saying.
Just saying.
With all of that being said, I'm Fix-It.
I'm Feel It.
We hope you join us in the future.
Until next week.
You all have a great one.